The palace of the alien queen was silent at night. It was not an ordinary palace. It floated above the capital planet like a silver mountain in the sky. Thousands of lights glowed along its walls. Energy shields shimmered around it like invisible fire. Inside, guards stood in every corridor. Cameras watched every door. Nothing moved without permission. There was one rule that everyone knew. No one spoke to the alien queen without royal order. No one approached her private chamber, and no human was ever allowed near her. Humans were new to the galaxy. They were seen as weak, emotional, and unpredictable. They worked in lower positions: engineers, cleaners, maintenance workers. They fixed things but never ruled anything. Aaron was one of those humans. He worked in the service wing of the palace. His job was simple: repair damaged systems, replace broken energy panels, clean ventilation tunnels. He lived in a small room deep inside the lower levels of the palace. Most royal members did not even know he existed. That night, Aaron returned to his room after a long shift. The palace had been tense all day. High-ranking officials moved quickly through the halls. Guards were doubled. Something important was happening, but workers like Aaron were never told the truth. He removed his work gloves and sat on the edge of his bed. Outside his small window, the stars looked peaceful. The capital planet below shone with city lights. He lay down and closed his eyes. For a few hours, everything was quiet. Then it happened. The lights in his room flickered. Just once. Aaron opened his eyes slowly. The palace had strong power systems. Flickers never happened. He sat up. Silence. Then he felt it. A strange pressure in the air. It was heavy, powerful, like the room had become smaller. He turned his head toward the door. It was locked. No sound came from outside, but someone was inside. A soft silver glow formed near the corner of the room. Aaron's heart began to beat faster. The glow grew brighter, and then she stepped forward from the shadows. The alien queen. Aaron froze. He had seen her only once before, from far away during a royal ceremony. She had worn a crown made of living crystal. Her armor had shimmered like liquid metal. Thousands had bowed before her. But now she stood only a few steps away from him. She was not wearing her crown. She was not surrounded by guards. She had come alone. Her eyes glowed softly in the dim room. Her long silver hair flowed down her back like light. Her presence filled every corner of the small space. Aaron's mind raced. This was impossible. If anyone saw her here, he would be executed immediately. A human alone with the queen in her private hours would be called treason. War could begin from a rumor like this. He slowly slid off his bed and lowered his gaze. "My queen," he said quietly. The queen studied him carefully. Her face showed no anger, only seriousness. "You are Aaron," she said. Her voice was calm but powerful. It felt like it carried weight. "Yes, my queen." She stepped closer. Aaron felt the air shift again, like invisible energy moved around her. "Do you know why I am here?" she asked. Aaron swallowed. "No, my queen." The queen looked toward the door as if checking for something unseen. Then she looked back at him. "Because I cannot trust anyone else." Those words felt heavier than anything. Aaron slowly raised his eyes, just a little. The most powerful being in the galaxy stood inside his small room and said she could not trust her own people. That meant danger, great danger. "My court is not loyal," she continued. "There is betrayal inside these walls." Aaron's chest tightened. The palace was known as the safest place in the galaxy. If betrayal lived here, nowhere was safe. "Why? Why tell me?" Aaron asked carefully. The queen's glowing eyes softened slightly. "Because humans are invisible here." That answer surprised him. "No one watches you," she said. "No one fears you. That makes you powerful." Aaron had never felt powerful in his life. He fixed broken pipes. He cleaned machines. But the queen stepped even closer. "There is something wrong with the royal armor," she said quietly. Aaron knew about the armor. Every ruler of her species wore it. It was ancient, alive, connected to the throne itself. "It no longer responds to me," she said. Aaron looked confused. "That is not possible, my queen." "It is," she answered. Her voice lowered. "And it reacted to you." Aaron's heart skipped. He remembered 3 days ago when he was repairing a power line near the royal chamber. He had felt a strange vibration in the walls, like something moved inside them. "That armor," she continued, has not reacted in centuries. But when you passed near the chamber, it awakened. The room became very quiet. Aaron felt small again. I do not understand, he said. Neither do I, the queen replied. She stepped back slightly. And that is why I broke every rule tonight. The meaning of her words filled the room. She had risked her throne. She had risked war. She had entered a human's private room, all because of the armor, all because of him. Outside, somewhere far above, a distant alarm sounded faintly, then stopped. The queen's eyes sharpened. They are watching more closely now, she said. She moved toward the silver glow forming again behind her. I will return, she said, but you must tell no one. Aaron nodded quickly. Yes, my queen. Before disappearing, she looked at him one last time. Prepare yourself, Aaron, she said quietly. The galaxy is about to change. Then the light faded. The pressure in the air vanished. The room returned to normal. Aaron stood alone in the silence, his heart still racing. The most powerful ruler in the universe had entered his room at night, and she was afraid. That meant something far greater was coming, and somehow a simple human worker was now part of it. The night that no one was supposed to witness had begun, and nothing in the palace would ever be the same again. Aaron did not sleep for the rest of the night. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the place where the silver light had faded. His small room felt different now. Smaller, like the walls were listening. The alien queen had stood here, not as a ruler on a throne, but as someone afraid. That thought disturbed him the most. When morning came, the palace returned to normal routine. Workers moved through halls. Guards stood in long lines. Officials whispered to each other in low voices. But something felt wrong. More guards than usual stood near the royal wing. Security drones floated near the ceiling. The air was tense. Aaron kept his head low and walked toward his workstation. He tried to look normal. Invisible. Just another human worker. But his mind replayed her words. The royal armor reacted to you. He had heard stories about the armor since his first day in the palace. It was not just protection. It was ancient technology older than the empire itself. Some said it was alive. Some said it chose its ruler. And now it had stopped responding to the queen. That alone could destroy the throne. While replacing an energy panel near the central corridor, Aaron noticed something unusual. Two high-ranking advisors stood nearby. Their voices were calm, but their eyes were sharp. One of them was Lord Verex, the queen's chief advisor. Verex was tall, thin, and always smiling, but his eyes never smiled. They watched everything, measured everything. Aaron kept working quietly, pretending not to hear. The demonstration must happen soon, Verex said softly. The council grows impatient, the other advisor replied. The armor must respond, Verex said, or the throne becomes unstable. Aaron's hands tightened on the tool. Demonstration, council, unstable throne. So it was true. Something was moving inside the palace. Later that day, Aaron received a strange message on his work console. It was simple. Report to lower storage sector C-17. Alone. No name was attached. His heart began to beat faster. Storage sector C-17 was deep underground, below the main palace levels. Few workers went there. He hesitated, but he remembered the queen's words. Prepare yourself. He placed his tools away and walked quietly toward the lower elevators. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. The walls changed from shining silver to dark metal. Lights were dimmer here. When the elevator doors opened, the corridor ahead was empty, except for one figure standing at the end. The alien queen. She wore a dark cloak this time. No crown, no royal symbols, just silence. Aaron walked forward slowly and lowered his head. My queen. She raised her hand slightly. No titles here, she said. Not in this place. That surprised him. She turned and walked down the corridor. Aaron followed. At the end of the hallway stood a massive circular door. Symbols glowed faintly around it, ancient symbols. The queen placed her hand against the surface. The door responded with a low vibration. It opened. Inside was a chamber larger than any room Aaron had ever seen. The ceiling was high and curved. The walls shimmered faintly, and at the center of the chamber, it floated. The royal armor. It did not hang on a stand. It hovered in the air like liquid metal frozen in shape. Silver plates shifted slowly, as if breathing. Lines of light moved across its surface like veins. Aaron felt something strange in his chest. A pull. The queen watched him carefully. Go closer, she said. Aaron stepped forward slowly. The armor's glow changed. It grew brighter. The silver surface rippled slightly. The queen's eyes widened. It is reacting again, she whispered. Aaron stopped a few steps away. The armor moved. Not violently, not attacking, but gently. A thin piece of silver metal extended toward him like a finger of light. Aaron did not know why, but he lifted his hand. The metal touched his skin. The moment they made contact, the chamber filled with light. Aaron gasped. Images flashed in his mind. Stars burning, ships fighting, two species standing side by side, humans and the Queen's people together. Then betrayal, fire, history erased. He pulled his hand back, breathing hard. The armor returned to its floating form. The chamber became quiet again. The Queen stepped forward slowly. What did you see? She asked. Aaron tried to understand the images. A war, he said quietly. Long ago, humans fighting with your people. The Queen's face grew serious. That history does not exist in our records. But it happened, Aaron said. I saw it. The Queen turned toward the armor. Our empire teaches that humans are new to space, she said slowly. Primitive, recent. Aaron looked at the armor again. That is not true, he said. Silence filled the chamber. If what he saw was real, then someone had erased the past. And if the armor remembered it, then someone feared that truth. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. The Queen's expression changed. We are not alone, she said quietly. A low mechanical hum echoed from above. Security systems activating. Aaron's heart pounded. They are scanning the sector, she said. Lord Varix? Aaron asked. Most likely. The Queen looked back at him. They suspect something. They do not know what yet. The armor pulsed again. This time, it did not reach for Aaron. It shifted slightly toward both of them, as if recognizing them together. The Queen understood something in that moment. This was never meant for one ruler, she said softly. Footsteps echoed faintly from outside the chamber. Time was running out. She stepped closer to Aaron. From this moment forward, she said, you are no longer invisible. That was not comforting. The door behind them vibrated. Someone was trying to override access. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter. Stand behind me, she ordered. Aaron obeyed. The great circular door began to open slowly, and shadows appeared in the gap. The secret beneath the throne had awakened, and now others had noticed. The game inside the palace had officially begun. The circular door opened slowly. Cold white light entered the hidden chamber. 3 royal guards stepped inside first. Their armor was dark blue, marked with the crest of the High Council. Behind them walked a tall, thin figure, Lord Varix. His calm smile was still on his face, but his eyes were sharp like blades. My queen, Varix said politely, bowing slightly. Forgive this interruption. The security system detected unauthorized access. The Queen stood tall, calm, unreadable. This chamber belongs to the throne, she said evenly. I require no permission. Varix's eyes shifted toward Aaron. And the human? He asked softly. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons. Aaron felt the tension rise like heat in the room. He is under my command, the Queen replied. Varix slowly walked forward, studying the floating armor in the center. The silver surface reflected his thin face. The council grows concerned, Varix said. There are rumors, whispers that the royal armor has weakened. The Queen did not react. Rumors are often created, she answered. Varix gave a small smile. Yes, they are. His eyes moved to Aaron again. Strange that a maintenance worker would be present during such sensitive times. Aaron lowered his gaze, but did not speak. He remembered what the Queen said. You are no longer invisible. Varix stepped closer to the armor. Perhaps, he said slowly, a public demonstration would calm the council. The chamber became very quiet. A demonstration meant one thing. The Queen would have to command the armor before witnesses. If it failed to respond, her rule would be questioned. The guards stood still, waiting. The Queen looked at the armor for a long moment. Then she turned slightly toward Varix. Very well, she said. Arrange the demonstration. Varix's smile widened just a little. As you wish, my queen. He bowed again and motioned for the guards to leave. But before stepping out, he paused near Aaron. Humans should be careful where they stand, Varix said quietly. History is often dangerous. Then he left. The door sealed shut. Silence returned. Aaron exhaled slowly. He knows, Aaron said. Yes, the queen replied, but he does not know everything. She turned toward the armor. It showed you something, she said. Something erased. Aaron nodded. Humans and your people fought together. We were allies. The queen's expression hardened. Our records show no such alliance. Then someone deleted it, Aaron said. The armor pulsed softly, as if agreeing. The queen walked closer to it. For generations, the High Council has protected royal history, she said. If this truth was removed, it was done from within. Aaron felt a heavy realization. This is not just about the armor, he said. It is about control. The queen looked at him carefully. Yes, if humans were once equal allies, then the Empire's current belief that humans were lesser would be false. And if that truth returned, the balance of power would change. Footsteps echoed faintly outside again. Time was short. The demonstration will happen tomorrow, the queen said. Before the full council, Aaron's stomach tightened. And if the armor does not respond, he asked, then they will declare me unchosen. That word felt cold. Unchosen rulers did not remain on the throne. The queen stepped closer to Aaron. When it touched you, it awakened fully, she said. That is not coincidence. Aaron shook his head slightly. I am not a ruler. No, she agreed. You are something else. Before Aaron could ask, the armor suddenly shifted again. This time it did not reach only toward him. It expanded slightly. Silver plates moved like breathing metal. A soft voice filled the chamber, not loud, but clear. Dual compatibility confirmed. Aaron froze. The queen's eyes widened. The voice continued. Primary ruler incomplete. Secondary genetic key required. The chamber fell into silence. Aaron looked at the queen. What does that mean? She stared at the armor, thinking deeply. It means, she said slowly, the throne was never meant to stand alone. Before more could be said, a warning signal echoed from above. The queen's wrist device flashed red. Council surveillance increased, she said. We must leave. They exited the chamber carefully. This time they took different corridors to avoid detection. As Aaron walked back toward his quarters, he noticed something strange. Other workers were whispering. Guards were moving in new positions. Rumors were spreading. By evening, the palace felt different, like a storm was coming. That night, Aaron stood by his small window again. The city lights below looked calm, but inside the palace, power was shifting. The next day, the entire High Council gathered in the Grand Hall. Massive pillars reached toward the ceiling. Thousands of officials filled the seats. Cameras hovered in the air, broadcasting across the empire. At the center stood the royal platform, and above it, the floating armor. Lord Varric stood near the council seats, hands folded calmly. The queen entered the hall. The crowd went silent instantly. She walked forward with dignity, but Aaron noticed something different. She looked stronger, not afraid, not alone. Aaron stood among the lower attendants near the edge of the hall. No one paid attention to him, yet. The High Council leaders spoke loudly. Today, the throne confirms its chosen ruler. All eyes turned to the armor. The queen stepped onto the platform. She raised her hand toward the floating silver form. The armor remained still. A murmur spread through the hall. Varric's eyes gleamed slightly. The queen closed her eyes for a moment. Then she looked toward the crowd. And for a brief second, her eyes met Aaron's. The armor flickered, very faint. The council leaned forward. Varric stiffened slightly. Something was happening, but not in the way anyone expected. The armor began to glow brighter, not toward the queen alone, but toward the edge of the hall, toward Aaron. Gasps filled the chamber. Aaron's heart pounded. The ancient secret was rising. And now, the entire empire was about to witness it. The grand hall was completely silent. Thousands of eyes stared at the glowing armor. It was no longer floating calmly. It was pulsing. Light moved across its surface like living veins. Silver plates shifted slowly, opening and closing as if breathing. The High Council members leaned forward in shock. This had never happened before. Lord Varric stood very still. His calm expression did not change, but his fingers tightened slightly behind his back. The queen remained on the royal platform. Her hand was still raised toward the armor, but the armor was not responding to her alone. It was turning, slowly, toward the lower section of the hall, toward Aaron. A wave of whispers spread through the chamber. Why is it reacting there? Is there a malfunction? Stop this immediately. Aaron felt every eye moving in his direction. Guards began looking around, confused. He wanted to step back, to disappear again. But something inside him told him not to move. The armor suddenly flashed brighter. A beam of soft silver light extended from it, reaching across the hall. It stopped just a few steps away from Aaron. The council gasped. Varex's voice cut through the silence. "This is unacceptable," he said sharply. "Remove that human at once." Two guards stepped forward, but before they could touch Aaron, the armor released a shockwave of energy, not violent, but powerful enough to stop them in place. The air in the hall vibrated. The queen lowered her hand slowly. Her voice echoed clearly. "Stand down." The guards hesitated. The High Council leader looked uncertain. "My queen," he said carefully, "the armor appears unstable." "It is not unstable," she replied. "It is choosing." Those words hit the hall like thunder. Choosing? The armor had only ever chosen one ruler at a time. Aaron felt warmth spreading across his chest. The silver beam moved closer. It touched his shoulder, and this time he did not pull away. The moment contact was made, the entire hall filled with brilliant light. Images appeared above the platform, projected by the armor itself. Scenes from ancient history, starships flying side by side, alien soldiers and human soldiers fighting together. Two flags raised on the same battlefield. The crowd stared in disbelief. "That history is forbidden," someone whispered. Varex's face lost its calm for the first time. "This is manipulation," he said loudly. "Old, corrupted data." But the images continued. Then came the betrayal. Shadowed figures rewriting archives, deleting records, changing history. The council members began murmuring louder. The queen stepped down from the platform and walked slowly toward Aaron. The armor followed her movement. Silver pieces detached from its floating form and began circling both of them. The ancient voice filled the hall once more. "Primary ruler confirmed." A pause. "Secondary key required." The hall froze. The High Council leader looked pale. "Secondary key?" he repeated. The queen stood beside Aaron now. Her presence was calm but strong. "Explain," she commanded. The armor responded. "Original design requires dual genetic authority. Alliance species integrated." Alliance species. The word echoed across the hall. Humans were not outsiders. They were part of the throne's foundation. Aaron looked at the queen, confused but steady. "So it was never meant for one ruler?" he asked quietly. The armor pulsed in agreement. Varex stepped forward angrily. "This is absurd. Humans are inferior. They arrived centuries after our empire began." The armor reacted sharply. Another wave of energy moved through the hall. Screens around the chamber activated automatically. Ancient dates appeared. Records older than the empire's current timeline. Proof that humans had traveled the stars long before official history claimed. The council members began arguing loudly. "This cannot be true." The archives were verified. Who controlled the archives? Slowly, many eyes turned toward Varex. He straightened himself. "You are allowing a machine to rewrite our order," he said to the queen. "If humans gain equal claim, the balance of power collapses." The queen's eyes glowed brighter. "Perhaps the balance was built on lies," she answered. The armor suddenly moved with purpose. Half of its silver plates separated and formed around the queen's body. The other half floated toward Aaron. Gasps filled the hall. Aaron felt the metal wrap around his arm and shoulder. It was not heavy. It felt alive, connected. Energy flowed through him. Not painful, but powerful. He could sense the hall differently now. Heartbeats, emotions, fear. The queen stood fully armored beside him. But this time, she was not alone. They stood as equals beneath the ancient design. The armor's voice spoke clearly. Throne integrity restored. The High Council leader slowly rose from his seat. He looked at the two figures glowing in silver light. "The armor has chosen," he said quietly. Varex stepped backward. "This is madness," he hissed. But guards around the hall were no longer looking at Aaron. They were watching Varex. Because the revealed records showed something else. Encrypted commands. Archive access logs. Signed under his authority. The deletion of Alliance history. The lie that shaped the empire. Varex realized the shift too late. "You do not understand," he said desperately. "Unity with humans weakens us." "No," Aaron said calmly, his voice stronger now. "It makes us whole." The hall fell silent again. For the first time in generations, a human stood beside the alien queen, not as a servant, but as part of the throne itself. The armor glowed steadily, balanced, complete. The queen turned slightly toward Aaron. "You did not seek power," she said quietly. "I never wanted it," he replied. "That is why it trusts you." Guards moved forward and surrounded Varix. This time he did not resist. The High Council leader bowed deeply. "To both chosen rulers," he said. Across the hall, thousands slowly lowered their heads, not in fear, but in recognition. The rule had been broken. The truth had returned, and the empire would never be the same again. But outside the palace walls, across distant star systems, powerful leaders were already watching the broadcast. Not all of them would accept this change, and far beyond the capital planet, old enemies were beginning to awaken. The alliance had been restored, and with it, a much greater storm was coming. The broadcast ended, but its impact had only begun. Across the capital planet, people gathered in streets and public squares. Giant screens replayed the moment again and again, the armor splitting in two, the ancient history revealed, a human standing beside the alien queen. Some citizens cheered, others stood in shock, and in distant star systems, powerful governors watched in silence. Inside the palace, the grand hall slowly emptied. Council members left in quiet groups, whispering urgently. The queen stood in a private chamber overlooking the city. The royal armor no longer covered her fully, but faint silver lines still glowed along her arms. Aaron stood a few steps behind her. He still felt the connection. The armor had not left him completely. A thin silver band circled his wrist, warm and alive. Neither of them spoke at first. The city lights below flickered like distant stars. Finally, the queen broke the silence. "The empire will not remain calm," she said. Aaron nodded. I could see it in their faces. Some had bowed with respect. Others had bowed out of fear. Fear of change. A door opened softly behind them. The High Council leader entered, looking tired. "My queen," he said, bowing. Then he looked at Aaron and hesitated. "My lord." Aaron felt uncomfortable at the title. "I am not a lord," he said quietly. "Not yet," the council leader replied. The queen turned toward him. "Report. 3 outer systems have already declared concern," he said. "They claim the throne has been compromised by human influence." Aaron's jaw tightened. That was fast. "There are leaders who built their power on the belief that humans are lesser," the council leader said. "Your alliance threatens their control." The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. "And the military?" "Divided," he admitted. "Some commanders support you. Others are waiting to see who gains advantage." Silence filled the room again. Power was shifting like tectonic plates. "And Varix?" the queen asked. "He is contained," the council leader answered. "But he still has loyal followers." Aaron stepped forward slightly. "This is not just about him," he said. "The lie lasted for generations. Removing it will shake everything." The queen studied him. "You speak like someone born to rule," she said. He shook his head. "I speak like someone who has seen what fear does." The council leader looked uneasy. "There is more," he added. "An old signal has reactivated." The queen's expression changed. "What signal?" "A dormant defense network at the edge of the galaxy. It was designed during the Alliance era." Aaron felt the armor band on his wrist pulse. "The Alliance era?" he repeated. "Yes," the council leader said. "Records we believed destroyed are reappearing. The armor's activation seems to have unlocked them." The queen moved toward a holographic display. Star maps appeared in the air. At the far edge of known space, faint lights blinked. Defense stations, old war platforms, ancient fleets. "Why would they reactivate now?" Aaron asked. The council leader hesitated. "Because they were designed to respond to dual authority." The room grew very quiet. The armor had not only restored history, it had reawakened something much larger. A system built for war. Before more could be said, an alarm echoed through the palace. Not internal, external. The holographic map shifted suddenly. A new fleet had entered the outer sector. Unknown origin, large, heavily armed. The council leader's face went pale. "They have been waiting," he whispered. The queen stood tall. "For what?" "For weakness," he answered. Aaron stepped closer to the star map. The armor band glowed brighter. "These ships," he said slowly. "They match the enemy from the vision." The queen looked at him sharply. The ones you saw in the ancient memory? He nodded. Dark ships with sharp edges. The same shapes now moving across the holographic stars. They thought the alliance was gone, he said. They thought we were divided. The Queen understood immediately, and now they see it returning. The alarm intensified. Military commanders appeared on the communication display. My Queen, one said urgently. The fleet is approaching the outer defense grid. The Queen did not hesitate. Activate the ancient network, she ordered. There was silence on the other end. My Queen, that system requires dual command authorization. The room grew still. Aaron looked at the Queen. She looked at him. This was the moment. Not political, not symbolic. War. The Queen stepped beside him. Place your hand here, she said, guiding him to the central control panel. Two glowing circles appeared. He placed his hand on one. She placed hers on the other. The armor band on his wrist extended slightly, forming thin silver lines across his hand. The chamber filled with light. Far beyond the planet, ancient defense platforms powered on. Massive cannons rotated slowly. Shield generators activated. The Forgotten Alliance fleet, hidden for centuries, awakened. On the holographic map, new blue lights appeared. The approaching enemy fleet slowed. They had expected weakness. Instead, they saw unity. A message arrived from the enemy flagship. Cold, mechanical. Alliance signal detected. Impossible. The Queen spoke clearly into the channel. It is not impossible, she said. It is restored. Aaron felt energy flowing through the control system. The defense network was massive, complex, but it responded smoothly because it was built for this. The enemy fleet began to reposition. They had not expected resistance. Certainly not this scale. They are calculating retreat, a commander reported. The Queen's eyes remained steady. Let them see, she said. Let the galaxy see. Across multiple star systems, the live broadcast resumed. Citizens watched ancient defense stations rise from darkness. They watched the Queen and the humans standing together in command, not as ruler and servant, but as equals. The enemy fleet slowly turned away, retreating, for now. Silence filled the control chamber again. The immediate danger had passed. But the message was clear. The Empire was no longer divided. It was transforming. The Queen looked at Aaron. The storm has only begun, she said quietly. He nodded. But this time, he replied, we face it together. Outside, across the galaxy, leaders were already making new choices. Some would resist, some would adapt, and some would try to destroy this new alliance before it grew stronger. The armor pulsed softly, balanced, awake. The throne was no longer a single seat of power. It was a bond, and that bond had just changed the fate of the stars. The enemy fleet retreated into deep space, but no one inside the palace celebrated. They all understood one truth. The galaxy had just changed forever. In the command chamber, the ancient defense network slowly powered down to standby mode. The holographic stars faded. The emergency alarms stopped. The Queen removed her hand from the control panel. The silver armor slowly separated from her body and floated upward again. But this time, it did not return fully to its old form. A portion remained around Aaron's wrist. It was no longer temporary. It was permanent. The High Council leader bowed deeply to both of them. The Empire stands because of this alliance, he said carefully. But not all systems will accept it peacefully. The Queen nodded. They will have a choice, she replied. Unity or isolation. Aaron stepped back slightly, still adjusting to everything. I never wanted to be part of history, he said quietly. The Queen turned toward him. History does not ask permission, she answered. Later that day, a full assembly was called across the Empire. Every system governor, every fleet commander, every major leader. The grand hall filled again. But this time, the energy was different. Not shock, not confusion, expectation. The Queen walked to the center of the platform. Aaron stood beside her openly, not hidden at the edge. Murmurs spread across the hall, but no one dared interrupt. The Queen raised her voice. For generations, our empire believed humans were outsiders. She paused. That belief was false. Large holographic images appeared above them, ancient alliance battles, shared victories, forgotten unity. These records were erased, she continued, not by enemies, but by fear. Many council members lowered their eyes. The armor of the throne was designed with dual authority, she said. Our strength was never meant to stand alone. Aaron felt the silver band pulse gently. responding to her words. The queen turned slightly toward him. "Last night," she said, "I broke the oldest rule of this palace. The hall became very quiet. No ruler is permitted to seek aid outside the council." She looked directly at the assembly. "But I went to a human." Whispers spread quickly. "I went alone, without guards, without permission." She stepped forward, and that decision saved the throne. Silence followed, strong, heavy silence. One governor stood up suddenly. "You risked imperial law," he said firmly. "You trusted a species we were taught to distrust." The queen's eyes glowed softly. "Yes." The governor hesitated. "And you would do it again?" She did not hesitate. "Yes." The hall grew still once more. Aaron looked around at the faces watching them. Some were angry, some thoughtful, some afraid. He stepped forward slightly. "I am not here to replace anyone," he said calmly. "I am not here to take power." His voice carried clearly across the hall. The armor chose balance, not dominance. He looked toward the governor who had spoken. "Your fleets were protected today because of that balance." The governor slowly sat back down. The High Council leader rose next. "The ancient defense network responded only to dual command," he announced. "Without both of them, we would have fallen." That truth could not be denied. The queen raised her hand. "From this day forward," she declared, "humans are recognized as alliance partners under imperial law." Gasps echoed. She continued, "Not servants, not subjects, partners." The word carried power. Across the empire, billions were watching the live broadcast. Humans on distant colonies stared at their screens in disbelief. Alien citizens watched history shift before their eyes. The queen's voice softened slightly. "The greatest weakness of any empire is pride." She looked at Aaron. "The greatest strength is trust." Then she did something no ruler had done before. She removed the royal crest from her cloak and handed it to Aaron, not as surrender, not as submission, but as symbol. "From this day," she said clearly, "the throne stands on two pillars." She turned to the council. "This is the new law of the throne." The armor above them pulsed brightly, confirming the declaration. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, the High Council leader knelt. Others followed, not forced, not commanded, but recognizing the shift. The empire had not fallen. It had evolved. Hours later, the grand hall emptied again. The city outside felt different now, hope mixed with uncertainty. In a quiet corridor, the queen walked beside Aaron without guards between them. "You changed everything," she said. He shook his head. "You were the one who broke the rule." She smiled slightly. "Sometimes rules are built to protect fear." They stopped near a large window overlooking the planet. Stars filled the sky. Far in the distance, faint blue lights of the ancient defense stations glowed like silent guardians. "The enemy will return," Aaron said. "Yes," she agreed. "But next time, they will not see division." She looked at the silver band around his wrist. "Do you regret answering the armor?" He thought for a moment. He remembered his small room, the flickering light, the moment she stepped from the shadows. "No," he said quietly, "because you came alone." She looked at him carefully. "That was the most dangerous choice I have ever made, and the right one," he replied. Silence settled between them, not awkward, steady, balanced, far beyond the capital world. In the darkness between galaxies, hidden observers watched the new alliance signal shining brighter than ever. Old enemies began adjusting their plans, because unity is harder to defeat than power alone. Inside the palace, the rule that once defined fear had been broken. A queen entered a human's room at night, and because of that decision, the throne was reborn, not through conquest, not through control, but through trust. And in the vast silence of space, the message spread clearly: humanity was never weak, it was forgotten.